Hi, welcome back. I will immediately start where I left off yesterday, continue my reading for half an hour for today. That is why I insist so much on sannyas. Unless you are a sannyasin, it will be difficult for me to call you from the inside. I can call you from the outside, but then you remain just a student. I can teach you a few things that will become knowledge, but I cannot call you from your inside, from your very heart, and the need is there. That is possible only if you become a disciple, if you are a sannyasin, if you are ready to go with me, if you are ready to trust me, at least in some moments. And sooner or later, they will become your very state of being. So go on. Let this, me, this I, also disappear. And once this I disappears, there is no loneliness. There is aloneness. And aloneness is beautiful. Aloneness is freedom. It is a very positive feeling of well-being, a positive feeling of great joy. It is a very great and festive moment. It is celebration. It seems as though there is nothing but me, and I am so alone. Yes, if I remains, you will remain lonely. But then people are on the scene interacting with me, and I become confused. And what about you? You also seem just part of the painting. Allow me to become part of the painting on the outside. Only then can I start working from the inside. Let me disappear from the outside so that you can see my inside. And that will be my truth. And that is the truth of Christ. And that is the truth of Buddha and Krishna. That is the truth of all the masters, of all those who have become awakened. Even though this lasts only a few seconds, I become so terrified if this happens. It's natural, but gather courage. I am with you, go in. Is this my mind playing with me? No, not at all. Mind creates the fear, not the experience. Mind is playing when it creates the fear. It is not mind when you see all your projections coming closer and closer and disappearing into your eyes. It is not mind when things are going on all around. It is hell, and you are playing your flute. It seems callous. It seems you are cruel. Jesus seems to be more suitable, dying on the cross. Look at the face of Jesus, the way Christians have painted him. His face is very long and sad. He is carrying the whole burden of the earth. He has come to take all of the sins of all the people on himself. He seems to be the greatest servant, very unselfish. But my feeling is that Christians have depicted Christ wrongly. This Christ is a myth. The real Christ was more like Krishna. In fact, if you go deep down in the word Christ, you will be surprised it comes from Krishna. Its root is Krishna. Jesus must have been a very joyous man. Otherwise, how can you think of him eating, drinking merrily? There are so many scenes where friends have gathered and they are eating and drinking and gossiping. He is not always gospeling. Sometimes he is gossiping too, and he seems to be the only messenger from God who drinks and eats well and enjoys the small pleasures of life. My feeling is that if Zen masters were to create religion out of Jesus, they would make him laugh on the cross. A belly laugh. Jesus would have a big as a belly as the Bodhidharma, and the belly would be shaking like an earthquake with great laughter, and that would have been far, far more true. Even in Japan and China, the statue of Buddha is made with a big belly. In India, they don't make that big belly. No, not at all. The Indian concept of a yogic concept is that the belly has to be very small and the chest has to be big, because the yogic breathing is a false breathing. It is not natural. It can make a Muhammad Ali out of you, but not a Buddha. It will give you the shape of a Mr. Universe, but have you seen any other kinds of people in the world who are more ugly? Mr. Universe seems to be the ugliest. I don't think any woman can fall in love with a Mr. Universe. He looks so animalistic. All muscles and no man, just a kind of mechanism. Just see the muscles moving, just a kind of mechanism. A machine, but no soul. The Indian statue of Buddha is the yogic statue. When they made Buddha's statue in China, they made it with a big belly. When one laughs and when one breathes naturally, the belly becomes slowly bigger, because then one breathes from the belly and not from the chest. The breath goes the whole way down. If Zen were to make a religion out of Christianity, Jesus would be on the cross, but with laughter, such laughter that it would resound down to the centuries. But that may not have been successful religion, because how would it suit the people who know only crying and weeping? He would look completely eccentric, outlandish. To be on the cross and sad looks perfectly right, because everybody is on a certain cross and sad, and you must have been taught from your very childhood that the world is a wrong place. How can you be happy in this place? We are suffering a kind of punishment. God ordered Adam and Eve to leave paradise because they disobeyed, and humanity is under that curse. How can you be happy? To be a Christian and happy will be a contradiction in terms. So you must have been taught that the world is a miserable place. Misery is perfectly right in tune with it, and everybody's miserable. It will be very hard and cruel on your part to be happy and joyous. That is why even when there are moments to enjoy, people feel guilty and they hold back. Larson took Charlotte for a drive out in the country and parked the car in a desolate stretch. "If you try to molest me," said Charlotte, "I will scream." "What good would that do?" asked Larson. "There is not a soul around for miles." "I know," said Charlotte, "but I want to satisfy my conscience before I start having a good time." People even make love with sad faces, as if they are on a cross, doing a duty. And even if they want to enjoy, they hide it. They feel guilty. If people really make love with joy, they will scream, they will shout, they will cry, and they will weep. They will laugh. One never knows what kind of emotions will surface, so it is better to keep yourself in control. Otherwise you will look so foolish. And then, what would the neighbors think? And modern walls are so thin that you have to make love in a yoga posture, Shavasana, the dead body posture, and be finished with it as soon as possible. Don't let it become orgasmic. What are you doing? And Jesus suffered for you on the cross? And you are shouting with joy? Think of Jesus, poor Jesus, and what he will think of you. And think of God, who is a kind of peeping Tom who always looks through keyholes. What will he think? If you think of all the gods and then the angels and the Christs and the saints, and they are all watching you, and you are making love, and with such a relish, you will suffer in hell. It is better to keep control. It is good to feel guilty. That is why, after making love, people feel a kind of sadness, a kind of frustration, as if they have done something criminal. Again, they enjoyed themselves, and that is not right. You see, whenever you are feeling miserable, something feels good. It will look like a contradiction, but it is like this. Whenever you are miserable, you feel blissful. And whenever you are blissful, you feel miserable. You say, please explain about bliss and misery. For whenever I encounter love or beauty, I only feel tremendous pain, but not bliss. And I don't understand this. You will not be able to understand this at all. Your whole understanding has been poisoned. You will have to drop the whole mind. There is no need to understand. You will have to go into it with innocence, not with understanding, because that understanding is again a kind of calculation. That understanding is again the knowledge that has been given by society. And that knowledge is creating the whole trouble. You have to become a child again, innocent. But you want to understand. Forget all about understanding. Understanding is again calculation and cunningness. I have heard an elderly couple went to a doctor. The man said, "We want to know if we are making love properly. Will you look at us?" "Go ahead," said the doctor. They made love. "You are making love perfectly," the doctor said. "That will be $10. They came back 6 weeks in a row and did the same thing. On the 7th visit, the doctor said, "What are you coming here like this for? I told you you are making love properly." And they said, "She can't come to my house," said the man. "And I can't go to her house. The motel costs $20. You charge us $10. And we get $8 back from Medicare." Don't be calculating, cunning with life. Now, what kind of love will this be? Business? And business? And business? Knowledge is needed for business. Innocence is needed for life. Knowledge is a must in a marketplace, but not needed at all when you are moving into the mysteries. You cannot know. You can only be. You drop this mind. You drop all this conditioning and start moving. When you feel joyous, feel joyous. Help yourself to feel joyous. Dance and sing. The old habits will pull you back. Don't listen to them. You will have to get rid of the old habits. Slowly, slowly. It will be a kind of struggle, because no habit leaves you easily. But these habits are against you and against God, because anything that is against joy is against God. If God can be defined in any word, that word is bliss and nothing else. Whenever you feel something beautiful and the pain arises in you, that pain is not your being. That pain is in your mind. Your being is trying to go into the beautiful, but your mind is pulling you back. Whenever you feel love arising, bliss arising, and pain also, choose the bliss. Neglect the pain. Ignore it. Ignoring it will make it die. If you go on paying attention to it, you will feed it. Attention is food. Never pay attention to anything that is wrong, otherwise you are helping it to be there. You are going to give it more and more strength. So just ignore it. There is nothing better than ignoring it. Yes, let it be there. Just say, okay, you be there. You are just a hangover from my past. You be there. I am going ahead. I am not going to listen to you. Listen to blissful provocations and always go with them. And you are in the right direction. You are moving towards God. Never listen to anything that gives you guilt, pain, or misery. You are moving away from God. Whenever you are miserable, you are in hell, the furthest away from God. And whenever you are utterly joyous, you are in God. You are in heaven. You say, please explain about bliss and misery. Well, misery is unnatural. Bliss is your natural state. Misery is taught by others. Bliss is given by God. Misery is a conditioning, and bliss is your inner soul, your essence. Misery is personality, just the structure around you, and bliss is freedom. It is unstructured. Please explain about bliss and misery, for whenever I encounter love or beauty, I only feel tremendous pain, but not bliss, and I don't understand this. Don't try to understand this at all. Just leave the pain there, accept it for a few days, and go into love. Go into love madly, and go into beauty. Dance around a tree, and you will feel something of the shape of the tree has started reaching you. Dance under the stars. In the beginning you will feel that your legs are not moving, and you will have to move because you have been forced to live without dance for so long. Your legs have forgotten the language of dance. But soon they will learn, because it is a natural language. Each child knows how to dance. Each child knows how to be joyous. You will have to learn it again. But because it is natural, it comes fast. Just a few efforts, and suddenly one day you're out of the trap. Your crutches have to be thrown away. Even if sometimes you fall, it's perfectly good, but you have to stand on your own feet. The crutches of society, of the organized religion, of the priests have to be thrown. Even if for a few days you will feel impoverished. It is natural to feel impoverished for a few days. You have to accept it, but if you go on moving towards the natural, you will find Tao in your life. Tao is a natural flowering. Follow nature. Nobody wants to be miserable, and everybody is. They are not following nature. They do not want to be anything other than blissful, and nobody is blissful. Listen to the desire. The deepest desire indicates the right path. Your longing is for bliss, for beauty, for something that will overwhelm you, for something that will take you to the other shore, something which will be so tremendous and incredible that the past and the future will be washed away, and you will just be in the here and now. But don't try to understand. If you start trying to understand, you will become a victim of psychoanalysis. And analysis is a process ad infinitum. You can go on analyzing, and it is never finished. There is not a single person in the world who is totally psychoanalyzed. There can never be. This is where I differ from a psychoanalyst. Don't go into analysis. Put the whole mind aside, jump out of it. There is no need to understand. All that is needed is to live, authentically live. All that is needed is to be. Enough for today. Chapter 3. The Atomic Moment. Master Lu Tzu said, "Only the primal spirit and the true nature overcome time and space. The primal spirit is beyond the polar differences. Here is a place whence heaven and earth derive their being. When students understand how to grasp the primal spirit, they overcome the polar opposites of light and darkness, and tarry no longer in the three worlds. But only he who has envisioned human nature and visioned human nature's original face is able to do this. When men are set from the womb, the primal spirit dwells in a square inch, but the conscious spirit dwells below in the heart. This heart is dependent on the outside world. If a man does not eat for one day even, it feels extremely uncomfortable. If it hears something terrifying, it throbs. If it hears something enraging, it stops. If it is faced with death, it becomes sad. If it sees something beautiful, it is dazzled. But the heavenly heart in the head, when would it have moved in at last? Dost thou ask, can the heavenly heart not move? Then I answer, how could the true thought in the square inch move? The lower heart moves like a strong, powerful commander who despises the heavenly ruler because of his weakness and has usurped the leadership in affairs of state. But when the primal castle can be fortified and defended, then it is as if a strong and wise ruler sat upon the throne. The eyes start the light circulating like two ministers at the right and left who support the ruler with all their might. When rule in the center is thus in order, all those rebellious heroes will present themselves with lances reversed, ready to take orders. The way of the elixir of life knows these three as supreme magic: seed water, spirit fire, and thought earth. What is seed water? It is the true one energy, eros. Spirit fire is the light, logos. And true earth is intuition. One day a king called his clever jester and gave him a staff in front of all the court, saying, "Take this staff as a wand of office and keep it till you find a greater fool than yourself. If you find one, give this one to him." Some time later the king was sick and lay dying. He wanted to see his jester, of whose truthfulness he was sure. When the jester came, the king said to him, "I have called you to tell you that I am going on a long journey." "Where are you going?" asked the jester. "To a faraway country, another world." "Why, master? Have you made provision for your journey and your stay there?" "None whatever, my little fool." "Have you any friends to welcome you there?" "No one," replied the king. Then the jester shook his head sadly and put the staff into the king's hand and said, "Take this staff, your majesty. This belongs to you, for you are going to another world without preparation. Surely this wand belongs to you and to nobody else." Life is an occasion to prepare for death and the beyond. If you don't prepare for death and for the beyond, you are a fool. You are missing a great opportunity. Life is only an opportunity. This life that you know is not real life. It is only an opportunity to attain real life. The real life is just hidden somewhere in this life. But it has to be provoked. It has to be awakened. It is fast asleep. It is not yet aware of itself. And if your real life is not aware of itself, your whole so-called life will be nothing but a long dream. And it cannot be sweet either. It will be a nightmare. To live without being rooted in the real life is to live like a tree without being rooted in the soil. That is why there is no beauty. That is why there is no grace. That's why you don't see the splendor of man that the Buddhas talk about. Jesus goes on saying again and again, the kingdom of God is within you, but you don't seem to be like an emperor. Jesus says to his disciples, look at the lilies in the field, how beautiful they are. Even Solomon, the great king, was not so beautiful, attired in his grandeur as these poor lily flowers. Why are these lilies so beautiful and man so ugly? Why is only man ugly? Have you ever seen an ugly parrot, or an ugly peacock, or an ugly lion, or even an ugly deer? Ugliness seems to be something human. A peacock is a peacock, and a deer, but a man is not necessarily a man. A man is only when he is a Buddha, or a Christ, or a Krishna, when he has become aware of his total being. Otherwise you live groping in the dark. You live in the dark caves of the unconscious. You only appear to be conscious. Your consciousness is very fragile. It is very momentarily, and it is very thin on the surface. It is not even skin deep, just a little scratch and you lose your consciousness. Somebody insults you. Just a word or just a glance, and all your consciousness is gone, and you are rage, anger, violence, aggression. In a moment your humanity disappears. You are again wild, again an animal. A man can fall below animals, because when he falls there's nothing to stop him. Man can rise above the angels, but it rarely happens, because to rise above the angels is an uphill task. Arduous. One has to work for it. It needs hard work. It needs guts, courage to explore the unknown. Millions of people are born and die, but they never live. Their life is only apparent because they remain rooted in unconsciousness. And whatsoever you do on the surface may not be true about you at all. In fact, exactly the opposite is the case. That is why Sigmund Freud has to go into your dreams to see your reality. Just see the irony of it. Your reality has to be searched for in your dreams, not in your reality. You cannot believe it. What you say about yourself, your dreams, have to be asked, because you have become so false and you are wearing so many masks that it is almost impossible to penetrate to your original face. But it is very difficult to know your original face, even from dreams and dream analysis. Who is going to do the analysis? Freud is as unconscious as you are. One unconscious person is trying to interpret the dreams of another unconscious person. His interpretations are bound to be very limited. His interpretations will reflect more about him than about you. That is why if you go to a Freudian analyst with the same dream, you will get a different interpretation. than you will if you go to a Jungian analyst or an Adlerian analyst. And now there are many, and you will be puzzled. Leaving you puzzled, I will end the reading of today, and I will see you back tomorrow, hopefully. And I will be reading my next half hour of my challenge. I am already on page 48 from Secret of Secrets, and we have just a few more to go. It ends on page 688. At least I know I will be finishing it somewhere this year. Thank you for watching again, and hope to see you tomorrow.